В вечно бурлящем плавильном котле Нью-Йорка пузырится не только жир исламского духовенства. В его музыкально-андеграундных недрах зарождаются порой удивительные культурные течения. Например, таквакор – исламский панк-рок. Термин «таквакор» придуман молодым писателем, одноименный роман которого положил начало молодежному движению, сочетающему в себе бунт и богобоязненность молодых мусульман Америки. Майкл Мухаммад Найт, восходящая звезда современной американской литературы и выпускник Гарварда, стал мусульманином в 16 лет после прочтения автобиографии борца за права человека Малькольма Икса. А в 17 покинул дом матери в Рочестере и отправился в Пакистан, чтобы изучать ислам в его традиционной суннитской версии. Такой вот протест. Религиозные искания Майкла Мухаммада Найта легли в основу нескольких документальных лент, а его книга стала культовой и была экранизирована. Нам удалось встретиться с Майклом в Нью-Йорке и задать несколько вопросов, на которые он с удовольствием ответил.
Do I believe in God? Yeah, I believe in God. My own existence is pretty baffling to me. So, I don't know why I'm here. I think I'm here for something. I believe in Allah. I'm not totally convinced that I can escape my human limitations to understand Allah or to know what it is I believe in when I say I believe in Allah. But I think there's something.
Несмотря на уже устоявшийся статус селебрити американского самиздата, в Майкле еще можно разглядеть того бунтующего индивидуалиста-радикала, который бросил вызов устоявшейся белой традиции, перейдя в лоно религии, несвойственной его этническим и социальным нормам.
I feel like the Quran is my language for approaching Allah, like my script for relating to Allah. As for whether it came from a supernatural source or if I believe in, an angel flying down and saying, here you go, I don't really have a stable position on that. I just know that it's my particular technology that I'm using, to understand the divine. And, honestly, I've drawn value from the Quran not from its source, but from actually what I do with it.
Тем не менее, в контексте сегодняшней мусульманской ситуации Майкла Мухаммада Найта можно рассматривать как типичного представителя современного исламского сообщества, разочарованного в традиционных институтах религии из-за их противоречивости и запутанности, и осторожно относящегося к любым инновациям, будь то реформация или математические доказательства аутентичности Корана.
What would it mean for me if there was a mathematical principle to the Quran? I think that would be pretty cool. It wouldn't change the price of bread for me necessarily. I don't know if it would be evidence that the Quran is divine. I don't know if it would do that to my satisfaction.
С другой стороны, уникальный личный опыт Майкла позволяет ему видеть сегодняшнюю ситуацию не только изнутри, но и снаружи, отмечая необратимое влияние различных культурных, социальных и экономических факторов на ислам в целом и на каждого мусульманина в отдельности.
I think when we talk about problems like, the condition of the Muslim world or whatever, we have to realize first that there's not such a thing as the Muslim world. There's no such thing as the Muslim world. There's no such thing as the Ummah. There's no, Islamic civilization versus a Western civilization. Like, it just doesn't exist because Muslims are so diverse. there are so many different cultures that have Islam as an ingredient in it. You know, there's no such thing as Islamic culture, Muslim culture, you know, Muslim countries. Like, it doesn't exist. You know, I mean, my Islam is derived largely from American sources, you know, indigenous American sources such as, you know, Elijah Muhammad. But, you know, I draw from all kinds of different sources, you know, from the classical tradition, from modern tradition. And, you know, we like to treat Islam as this one big monolith, and it's just not. And it never has been, you know, it never really has been. It's always been fragmented, it's always been diverse. So, you know, I think first we have to look at the complexity of the situation.
По мнению молодого писателя, современный ислам – это совокупность разобщенных традиций, где за внешним многообразием форм скрывается отсутствие единства и ясности содержания.
At this point, for me, if I had to define the word Islam for someone with no background, no previous encounter with it, I would say that Islam is a family of traditions, all loosely, more or less connected to this historical event of the Prophet and his career. And this is a very, very diverse body of traditions. And it doesn't necessarily hold itself together as one coherent tradition because, you know, you can find anything within, you know, Islam. You can find anything in there. So I would just take, you know, just speaking from what I can observe in history, I would just say Islam is a very diverse body of traditions.
Такое положение дел ставит сегодняшних мусульман перед непростым выбором. Продолжать инертно плыть по течению, отказавшись от попыток докопаться до истины путем рационального размышления, или обратиться к маргинальным, экстремистским формам, спекулирующим на мятежном духе бунта, анархии и свободы.
I'm Muslim and I'm not a terrorist, you know, and I think the discussion of Muslims and terrorism, the way it's being framed in today's climate, really sets up this false opposition between, like, you have traditional, conservative, orthodox Muslims here, and over here you have liberal, rational, moderate Muslims. And I don't believe that exists, that distinction exists. Because, you know, for me, like, I've said lots of crazy things in my work. I've said lots of heretical stuff, and some people who were very, very, quote-unquote, conservative Muslims, you know, treated me as their brother, you know, and they were respectful to me and kind to me, you know, no matter what I was saying or doing, you know, no matter how irresponsible or careless I was. So, you know, I don't believe that every single intolerant conservative person wants to kill someone like me. You know what I mean? Like, the world is just too complicated for that, you know. So you know, a lot of us fall into this trap where, like, any conservative Sunni, we call them a Wahhabi, we call them a, you know, Salafi or whatever, and, like, the world is just diverse. You know, the world is just, you know, there's all kinds of different Muslims. So, you know, there's Muslims that, I don't know, you know, I've prayed behind female imams, you know, I've prayed behind women, and I've prayed in mosques that don't have a space for women. They don't even allow women in there. And it's all Islam. You know, I don't believe that one is the fake Islam and one is the real Islam. We're all just doing the best we can. And I always want to avoid a conversation in which, you know, you have everyone taking part in this conversation is split into two sides, because in reality there's a lot more than two sides.
В попытках решить эту непростую дилемму, не разделяя ислам на истинный и ложный, Майкл Мухаммад Найт нашел свою уникальную форму религиозного самовыражения, соединив, казалось бы, несопоставимые явления – мусульманскую богобоязненность и агрессивный панк-рок.
So, my integration of Islam and punk rock came from a very wounding experience with Islam as I knew it. When I first converted, you know, I didn't know anything about Islam. I couldn't distinguish between all these different voices. So just, you know, I went to the mosque, and what people told me was Islam, and I just took it. They just spoon-fed it to me. And when I started to become disillusioned with that kind of Islam, which was this very hardcore, very Sunni revivalist type of Islam. I became very confused and disillusioned, and I didn't really have any place to turn because I was so ashamed of my confusion. You know, like I couldn't go to the mosque and say what I felt. So then I started hanging out with the punk rock kids, and the punk rock kids were just like, you know, be who you are and don't apologize for who you are and don't negotiate with anybody and you don't owe anybody a thing. Like, you are who you are and just stand tall in the world, and, you know, you don't have to be diplomatic about something as stupid as whether you believe in God or not. You know what I mean? Like, this is, you know, you don't owe anybody anything for that. So, you know, I took that spirit and I internalized it, and that really gave me the courage to be who I was.
Герои его романа «Таквакор» – молодые мусульмане современной Америки, которым тесно в закостеневших рамках архаичной исламской традиции. Рожденные в западном обществе и впитавшие все его положительные и отрицательные реалии, они ищут свой собственный путь к Богу, с юношеским пылом отвергая устаревшие религиозные условности и предрассудки.
I wanted to inject that into my experience of Islam, because I still very much identified with the Islamic tradition, but I didn't know, you know, do I get to call myself a Muslim? Do I believe everything I'm supposed to believe? You know, I don't know. Like, I don't have a stable position on these doctrines, but when I'm by myself and I want to pray, like, I pray the way that I was taught. I pray as a Muslim, you know. When I want to have those experiences, like, I go to mosques, you know, even if it tears me up inside, you know, I still want to go to that mosque. So what do I do with it? How do I claim ownership of it? And punk rock to me was the way to claim ownership of it.
Майкл Мухаммад Найт's Thakwa.
После выхода книги сам издатом, литературная фантазия автора получила реальное воплощение в новом музыкальном направлении. Таквакор превратился в модный тренд, а сам Майкл, как это часто бывает с писателями, стал ни много ни мало выразителем позиции целого поколения американских мусульман.
I wrote this crazy novel about these Muslim punk rock kids who just do everything they're not supposed to do. They get drunk, you know, they hook up, they cross out a verse of the Quran if they don't like it, you know, like that kind of thing. Like, they are just these crazy punk rock kids, just total anarchy in their religion. And what I was trying to do with that was create this space where nobody owned my religion, you know, where, you know, this punk house that I was imagining was like a mosque with no imam in it. You walk in and it's like, Islam is yours, it belongs to you, and you're the one who defines it. So that's, you know, that's what I wanted. I wanted to reclaim myself as a Muslim.
I would like to have more informal chat with you.
Okay.
Okay. Are you rolling?
Yeah, but you want to be in frame here?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, Michael, I didn't know you, I didn't hear about you until my friend from Kazakhstan talked about you. I say, well, he is a kind of crazy guy. I am semi-crazy too. It would be good to see each other. I never did punk. I don't really understand. And when I see them, it seems kind of a little bit unusual. And rock, I am musically challenged. I prefer certain pop songs, but not much rock. Therefore, it doesn't seem we have much commonality in that regard. But commonality, I think, between me and you, you are free spirit. You dislike hegemony. You dislike power brokers between you and God. Could be imam or pope or any clergyman in different robes, correct? Yeah, I think in that regard we are the same. And this is the spirit of Muslim. In Islam, according to the Quran, not according to the very people who want to justify their vested interest, according to the Quran, there is no anyone between you and God. You directly communicate with God. You don't have confession sessions with some priest. And therefore, that spirit, I love it. It doesn't mean I agree with them going drunk and stupid or you know, some other stuff or the sound of their music.
Несмотря на головокружительный успех книги и растущую литературную популярность, Майкл все еще испытывает неуверенность во многих спорных вопросах своей концепции современного ислама. Продолжая формально считать себя мусульманином, но в то же время сомневаясь в божественном происхождении Корана по причине отсутствия рациональных доказательств, Майкл на самом деле выражает глубинный и неразрешимый конфликт своего поколения. Этот конфликт – пропасть между рациональным мышлением и либеральными ценностями Запада и тоталитаризмом традиционной формы мусульманства, принятой на Востоке. Иррационализм традиций может привести к фанатизму и агрессии, либо, как в случае с Майклом, к полному агностицизму религии. Допуская абсолютно все трактовки и толкования ислама, Майкл в реальности с трудом верит даже в Коран.
That sounds great, but I think, it would be great to, to follow those instructions completely, but I don't know if that's possible. And I think that defining it for ourselves is ultimately all that we have, because we really can't escape ourselves. I mean, we all like let's say, I want to understand what the Quran says. I mean, let's say I believe 100% that the Quran is supernaturally revealed, and that I have access to the Quran in its complete form with no alterations or anything. I mean, those are two big assumptions that I'm not settled on, but let's just say for, sake of argument that I had those two beliefs, strong.
Эволюция мировоззрения Майкла Мухаммеда Найта далека от завершения, и мы искренне надеемся, что он не остановится на достигнутом и продолжит поиски истины, опираясь на свой человеческий разум и божественный Коран.
I'm very limited with Arabic. I'm very weak with Arabic. I have access to certain information historically. I can investigate the context of the revelation. I'm limited in that regard. I'm limited in the ways that I read these things. I'm limited in how I was taught to read, how I was taught to interpret, the assumptions that I would have about approaching a text like the Quran, the historical moment that I live in. To say that there's one, absolute meaning to the Quran, I think it would disqualify, the vast majority of people who didn't happen to grow up in that moment where they could access that meaning. So, it would be awesome if, okay, here's a message from Allah, boom, follow what I say, easy. But I just don't believe that kind of absoluteness is possible. I mean, I know that me personally, like if I say that my reading of the Quran, based on the I got to choose a translator, to work through. I got to choose different, historical examinations of the context in which the Quran was revealed, certain, theories of literary criticism that I might apply, all those things. If I make all those choices for myself and then say, okay, I'm going to find the absolute meaning of the Quran, that's idolatry to me. That's shirk. That's saying my brain has unlocked everything. That's arrogant. So I say we define it for ourselves to recognize that I can't do anything but define it for myself. Because if I said I'm not defining it for myself, then I'm taking what I've done, the work that I've done intellectually, and saying that is the real meaning.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Kayfa alakum, Yaki?
Good, good,
How you doing?
good. Thank
Man, I'm the fucking proof of everything this fucking shit says, the whole shit. Quran tells you not to drink, right?
you. Yeah.
Don't fucking drink. I went ahead and I fucked that all up. I fucked my whole life up. I fucking fingering little schoolgirls' twats and then fucking puking in their hair. That's the kind of shit that I do. That's my life. Quran tells you to keep your dick dry until you're married, right? You keeping your dick dry?
Yes.
You know how many haram cunts I've had? Now I got green shit coming out of my dick. And I got cauliflowers coming out of my asshole. You want cauliflowers growing out your asshole?
No.
So read your fucking Quran. Get it right in there. Get your fucking Quran right in there. Get it right in here and live it out. And don't forget, or else you're gonna end up like me.